Хан, работай!
Ukrainian SOF dismantle Russian 810th Marine Brigade positions in North Slobozhanskyi sector. The Ukrainian Special Operations Forces have successfully destroyed enemy positions held by the so-called elite 810th Marine Brigade of the Russian Federation in the North Slobozhanskyi direction. The operation resulted in the elimination of 3 Russian servicemen and the capture of another. According to the press center of the Special Operations Forces, fighters from the 1st Detachment of the 144th SOF Centre carried out the mission with precision and tactical surprise. A video of the combat episode has been published, confirming the results of the group's work. The SOF operators approached enemy positions covertly, exploiting terrain and concealment to get within striking range. At the onset of the assault, a single well-placed shot eliminated the 1st Russian Marine. Swiftly capitalizing on the disarray, the group pressed forward, neutralizing 2 more members of the 810th Brigade. The remaining occupier was surrounded in his shelter and, faced with no way out, was forced to surrender to Ukrainian forces. This operation not only inflicted losses on one of Russia's best-known Marine brigades, but also showcased the effectiveness of Ukraine's SOF in close-quarters actions. Precise coordination, disciplined execution, and psychological dominance allowed the Ukrainian unit to dismantle a fortified enemy position with minimal resources and maximum effect. The destruction of 3 occupiers and the capture of another further underlines the ongoing erosion of Russia's combat potential on the northern front, where Ukrainian special operators continue to disrupt enemy activities and denied them the initiative. Meanwhile, the Russian forces are on the verge of losing yet another stronghold, as Ukrainian advances isolate and dismantle their defenses with relentless precision. The accelerating collapse of the Sumy offensive has visibly sent shockwaves through the Kremlin, as Vladimir Putin himself has fired the general who was responsible for this grand operation. The Ukrainian advances have cut off the village of Oleksiivka on 3 sides, leaving only a narrow tree line for Russian forces to move supplies and reinforcements. Even that passage is under constant Ukrainian fire control, as drones saturate the skies, preventing movement during the day, while artillery and precision strikes cover the night. Russian sources admit command and control has effectively broken down near Oleksiivka, where Russian units are battered by endless Ukrainian strikes. For the troops trapped inside, there is little chance of meaningful support, and those Russians ordered to provide relief are eliminated even before nearing the village.
Постріл.
The fighting has reached the southern outskirts and even the center of the village, where Russian forces are clinging to positions under increasingly desperate conditions. Russian analysts themselves admit that Oleksiivka has turned into a meat grinder, with defenders being worn down day by day. For Ukraine, there is no rush to lose forces in frontal assaults, as the plan is to squeeze the pocket until collapse becomes inevitable. Yet Russian commanders have refused to acknowledge reality, and instead of organizing an orderly retreat, they continue to demand assaults. In other directions, the Russians usually rely on sending 1 to 2 soldiers at a time to avoid detection, but here they are ordered forward in groups of 4 to 10 at a time, which only makes them more visible and easy targets. Ukrainian drones pick them off in batches, turning misguided orders into slaughter. Anger has boiled over even among Russian military analysts, who accuse commanders of sacrificing troops to preserve their own reputations. The efforts to relieve Alexeyevka from nearby sectors have fared no better. As previously reported, at Kindrativka, Russia redeployed an already understrength battalion to counterattack the Ukrainian flank and relieve pressure off the besieged Alexeyevka. Unfortunately for the Russian battalion, tactical cohesion and command had completely broken down, as their attacks devolved into successive waves of Russian troops trying to cross a reservoir under heavy Ukrainian fire. Russian soldiers were tracked already on the approaches and engaged with FPV kamikaze drones. Several Russian soldiers were even hunted as they leaped into the water itself and were finished off nonetheless. Survivors were left stranded or cut down on the opposite bank, with the repeated failures highlighting Russia's lack of reconnaissance and inability to adapt. The crisis has now caused a major military casualty, as Colonel General Alexander Lapin, Supreme Commander of the Leningrad Military District, has finally been fired and dismissed from active service. Lapin was already infamous for losing Lyman in 2022 during Ukraine's Kharkiv counteroffensive, and for presiding over the Ukrainian Kursk incursion in 2024, where he was not able to repel the Ukrainians as quickly as Russian political leadership desired, and with much too high casualties. Overall, the Ukrainian approach in Sumy is working exactly as intended. Instead of rushing forward, commanders are methodically isolating villages, cutting Russian supply routes, and then bleeding the trapped defenders dry until the settlement collapses. Alexeyevka is the latest proof of this method, with defenders already surrounded and reinforcements destroyed before they can make a difference. Russia's refusal to adapt has cost them thousands of troops and now even a general. With General Lapin gone, Russia will shuffle the chain of command, but this cosmetic change will not reverse the structural problems within the Russian army, disrupting their logistics, planning, and morale.